Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever you're watching or listening to this, and welcome to Link Up Leaders, your direct link to leaders in supply chain and e-commerce. My name is Lisa Kinski. I'm your producer and co-host, and joined as always by Francois Jeffrey. Francois, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. How was your weekend?
Good. It was good. It was relaxing. We were gonna go check out apartments, but we
Yeah.
decided we're going to plan a little bit better. So we're like
Mm.
mapping out like a few different areas, and like we might go later this week and just like midway through the week so she can drive into the Google office and just like check out like, hey, how bad is traffic? And like what does 30 minutes of traffic actually mean, sort of thing.
Right.
Because like 30 minutes to drive 2 miles is significantly different than 30 minutes to drive like 10 miles,
Right.
just because of like the flow of traffic. So
Yeah.
it was good. Watched a good bit of Star Wars, actually. Got up to
Okay.
episode 3 of the prequels. Um, I think it was the prequels. I don't know. She loves Star Wars, and
Okay.
I'm indifferent. I'll
Yeah.
watch it. They're good for like, I appreciate the cinematography of the time. Right. It's like
Yes.
how advanced they were able to be all the way back then is
Yeah.
just mind blowing. Um, but yeah, it was a lot of planning. And if we have any listeners in the Washington, D.C. area or Arlington, Maryland, or anything like that, hopefully they could comment in and suggest some places for driving into Washington, D.C. because post pandemic, I have no clue. Like before it was like an hour to drive 2.5 miles into DC. And now like some of my friends are saying, I'll drive there sometimes and it'll take like, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. It's a new place. It's a new world.
Huh.
So we'll see.
Interesting.
How
I
about
don't
you? How
remember
was your
traffic
weekend?
being a big thing. Oh, it was good. Whoa, I don't know what's going on with that. Oh,
Oh,
I
too
do.
good.
All right, no. I stayed at a girlfriend's house that has 2 cats, so I always have
Gotcha.
like a day and a half of recovery from that, no matter how many
Yeah.
allergy pills I take. Got to get it out of my system. Um, but no, it was good. I had a very busy weekend, but everything timed out really right between. I know, God, that just came out so bad. It's so early, you guys. Came out great with the timing between the 3 birthday parties that I had to go
Good.
to on Saturday. And then on Sunday, I helped my friend clean up after her birthday party and went and got some brunch and then went and got dinner with friends. I got tatted over the weekend. I have a
Ooh.
Triceratops. Kidding you guys. This was a 5-year-old's birthday party. It's a stick-on tattoo. But I got to match the birthday girl, so I felt very special. But yeah, it was good. And then working from home
Awesome.
today is nice. I kind of might do this like once a week or something. I like just having
Yeah,
all
yeah. You
the
have a great
natural
backdrop and
light
everything.
and everything.
I
Yes.
am not good with the back. This is like the most we're moving, so I'm like, I'm not
Yeah,
gonna spend a lot of time
I
on
agree
a
with that.
backdrop here at least,
Don't
maybe
take a
in the
lot of
future
time.
I'll make it look a little bit nicer.
It's just more to
Um,
move. Like if you set that
yeah,
up to be aesthetically pleasing now, you have to take it down in 2 weeks. There's no point
yeah.
in doing that.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, no, but yeah, I'm glad we both had great weekends, and
Yes.
hopefully, and we didn't even ask, or I didn't ask him
I
in the
didn't ask
pre-show
either.
how
I'm
his
bad.
weekend was, but let's find out how Marco's weekend was.
Yeah, so today's leader of the day is Marco Julian from WunderAds, calling from Taiwan. So it is 9 p.m. for you, whereas it's 9 a.m. for us when we're filming this. Welcome to the show. How was your weekend?
Thank you so much. My weekend was not too exciting because it has been raining cats and
Oh, no.
dogs pretty
Yeah.
much
Mm.
for a week. It's rainy season here, so not much going on. Just visiting friends, hanging out, drinking coffee, and yeah, that's about it. Playing board games. We played the
Mm.
Settlers of Catan with some friends from the States. So keeping things
Nice.
easy and simple.
I've never played that game, but I heard of a lot of people playing it during COVID because I guess it's pretty easy
Hmm.
to play. Is it a physical board game or is it a
Yeah.
digital game? Because it seems like people can play it remotely with each
Both
other really
ways.
easily. Yeah.
I think they have an online version. I've never played the online version, to be honest. I played it the first time as a kid, and actually the last time as a kid. So it's a physical board game originally.
Gotcha.
I think it got an award. It's originally from Germany, and it got awarded to be the best game of the year. And 1 year later, also in the States. So I think around 1995 or 96, it has a sticker on the packaging. And so I have not played it online yet. It was great just to catch up with them and see them online, physically and play it. It was great fun. I recommend it to try it out if you haven't.
But it's more of like one of those. It's not a short gameplay game, is it? You're kind of there for a while. There's a lot of story, a lot of strategy. You're investing in at least a few hours of your time, right?
It is not too deep. I would say maybe around an hour, like for one session. It's okay. It won't take too much, but it's quite strategic. It's about resources, like in real life. You have to make sure that you get the right resources and the right time, and you need to trade with other people. And then you need to build streets. It has like a little bit of Monopoly as well, and then you need to build more houses that you get more resources. So yeah.
Okay. Sounds fun. I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, that I think that makes more Settlers of Catan, like with a lot of video games where it's like a campaign. I find generally that of my friend group, the men prefer that kind of stuff, and the women are like, we're constantly strategizing everything already. I just want a quick churn and burn game. Let me play some Flappy Bird. I want to play a quick, card game or whatever, and then we are moving on. Like, there's no like. We like short little bursts of it. I don't want to be working through a whole nother word problem from 6th grade.
I prefer that too, to be honest. Yeah.
Well, awesome. Marco, thank you for being here. Why don't you tell us just a little bit about your background? And actually, how did you get to living in Taiwan? We didn't talk about that. You said you've been there for 12 years now, originally from Germany. That's quite a shift.
Absolutely. No, it's my pleasure being here. As you said, I came here 2010 with the main intention, the first time I came as an exchange student, and I met my now wife. So we met back in 2010, and we married 2 years ago. And I think that was the strongest factor to keep me there. But when I came as an exchange student, it was only for a limited time of 5 to 6 months, and I had to go back to Germany to finish my bachelor degree, which I did. And I had to do an internship. In Germany, we have maybe a slightly different system, so we have to have the college degree, and we have to add some, practical work experience on top of that. So I had to do half a year of an internship back then, and I had to write my thesis while I was working in the corporate. About the corporate, and I did that, and I finished it, and then I decided to apply for my master degree in Taiwan, then, and to give me another shot, to give me more time. That was for 2 more years, then going back to Taiwan. It also hooked me, the culture, the people. It was very, very new to me, and I met so many friends from all around the world. They have a lot of people from the States, so by now I have a very multicultural friend circle, and I enjoyed the time as a student very much. But afterwards, I tried to get my feet into the corporate world, and Taiwan has a large tech industry. So a lot of great companies actually are here. You might know ASUS or Acer, but also for Apple, they have Foxconn, which are helping them to produce their cell phones, their smartphones. Basically, the production lines. The headquarters are in Taiwan. They have their factories in China over there, and so for me, it was an interesting place because I was also very into computers and all of that. And I also want to pick up Chinese, which I have. So I'm still learning, because it's not a language to learn. It's a language to really study. It's so frustrating sometimes because it takes so much effort. But after working for the corporate and learning Chinese, I I felt still like the culture is quite different. And it brought me to the point where I thought, okay, I kind of reached a ceiling here. I want to grow more. So I started my first business, which was an e-commerce business. So I used Amazon, or yeah, it was my selling platform back then, and I was producing books, and I was having like a publishing company that was selling books on Amazon, Amazon.com. I also translated the content into German, into my native language, and then I was selling in the States, in Europe, and I sold this business a couple of years ago. What I missed, and why I sold it, is like it didn't really fulfill me. It didn't really resonate with me too much, because it did not really enable me to learn more about brand building outside of this ecosystem. And Amazon is really restricted in many ways. They keep their customer data there. You don't have the chance to get their email address and whatnot. And also, I want to learn more about marketing and advertisement in general. So I decided then to reshift my focus, and I learned the skill set of Google Ads, and I used that to get my first gigs, to get my first jobs, and then slowly but steadily, it all transformed into an agency, which is called WunderAds, and which I'm operating right now, fortunately, with a team of ad buyers, media buyers, which are also all remote, and our customer client base is all over the world, basically. Most customers are in the States. We do have customers in Europe, in Germany, in the UK, and Australia and New Zealand as well. So that's to give you the broad picture of things, what happened in the last 12 years, basically.
Yeah, we hear it so often where our guests just travel to a country and they fall in love with it and they just live there permanently. And it's happened especially to the past few guests.
Yeah,
I feel that we've had on.
It's been a common
Okay,
theme as
interesting.
of late.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, question actually, because I feel like one thing, first of all, I think a lot of brands and brand owners share your sentiment that it is extremely difficult to just sell on Amazon, because that's when they call themselves just an Amazon seller rather than a brand or an e-commerce business that can sell omni-channel.
Right.
And you never really, what sells on Amazon. One of our recent guests also mentioned this. What sells on Amazon doesn't necessarily mean it's going to sell to consumers directly, because Amazon, they have that very high intent, extremely high traffic, extremely high conversion rate. People are intentionally looking for that particular product, but but it's significantly different when you're getting off. One piece I feel that's missing a lot of times is the knowledge of Google Ads and just understanding how different that is from Amazon ads. Is there any resource, or I guess, how did you start to learn about Google Ads, and how would you advise business owners just sort of get some sort of training in Google Ads? Are there any specific sites that they should go to?
Yeah, in terms of resources, that's a good question. You can learn a lot of the basics relatively quickly, actually. So when I started out, I asked one of my mentors who was running an agency at the time, and I asked him, and he helped me to identify the right gurus, so to speak, or the experts in the market, because it's always difficult and challenging to distinguish who is actually claiming to be someone, or who is the real expert. So besides learning the official resources that Google Ads provided, which I find they help to give you a good concept then later on, like all the definitions of targeting, and how the bid strategy is working. Besides that, I actually invested and bought a course from Mike Rhodes. Mike Rhodes is the author. I'm not sure if I have the book here somewhere. This book, Google AdWords. I'm not sure if you can see it, but he is one of the co-authors besides Perry Marshall and Brian Todd. And I bought this book, but I also bought a course from Mike Rhodes, and I'm part of his mastermind group. It's a paid community of media buyers, including experts like Tom Breeze and others. And yeah, there's a vivid exchange of information. But to get the basics in this course really helped me a lot, and I'm sure you can find it when simply Googling it.
Yeah, because I feel like, in order to even work with an agency, or to try to, especially to do it in-house, you have to understand it. But even to work with an agency, it's good to have some sort of basic knowledge, right? Understanding how they're sort of structured, not necessarily the nitty-gritty of it, but at least trying it out yourself, I feel like has some benefit. You understand how complex it is and what work that agency is really doing for you to optimize those, which is so important when you see PPC ads and competition just rising across the board. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Now, do you specifically work with paid ads, or YouTube ads, and sort of, or I guess search ads, display ads, and YouTube ads? Can you explain to us what the differences are?
Absolutely. So yes, we work with the whole Google ecosystem, which includes search. So search is basically if someone is just using google.com and they're typing in their search terms. Weight loss or weight loss diet or whatever they're going to look for. And then you can place your ads just as a search result. So a lot of people, when they do SEO, they're always trying to rank. You can just cut that out and pay some money and just be there on the top of the page, or also on the bottom when you scroll down. There are also some positions that your ads can show up. With Google, you can add some extensions to it, so the whole placement looks much larger than an actual SEO ranking. So there is more space. You can add your phone number if you want to, a promotion extension, site links on top. So if you have different product categories, or male versus female, and so forth. So you have a few more options. And those are the search ads. The display ads, it's similar to Facebook, where you have banner ads, and those banners, since a lot of websites are partners, you can show those banners on different websites. And what we found when we run Google Ads for e-commerce brands, then this channel might be a great channel for doing some remarketing, as it's called in Google, versus retargeting on Facebook. So when people go to your website, you can put a pixel on them, and they will see your banner ads when they go and check out different websites. So this is search and then display. Then really relevant for Google as well, and for e-commerce as well, is our shopping ads. Shopping ads, they work similar to the search ads, but the difference is you need to have, first of all, a separate property. It's called the Google Merchant Center. In this in this property, after setting it up, filling in your information, and claiming your website, claiming your store, and whatnot, the key there is to provide a product feed where you plug in all your products, and there's different ways to do that. But then Google will, based on this information, they will show your actual product in form of an image, the title, the description, and the price, right in your search results on top. And the good thing is that if you click on those images, they will go directly to the product page. So it reduces a lot of friction. People can just click on that image of the respective product, and they will go to the web to the direct product page, where they then see all the information of that. And that's shopping. Then you have YouTube. YouTube works on one of the biggest search, or the biggest video search engine, with millions of eyeballs. It's almost replacing like TV commercials, so to speak. And YouTube has so many different targeting options. It's really mind-boggling when you compare it also to Facebook. And we can talk more in detail about YouTube in a bit. And maybe I can also tell you a little bit about the difference to Facebook here. And then there are other campaigns like, let's see if I get them together. Discovery campaigns, those have not really been working too much for us. We test them occasionally. They can show up in your Gmail. Like if a user is using Gmail, you can have ads in your emails there, or they also work on websites, on YouTube, on other placement formats. Then you can also advertise ads directly in the Google App Store. And now Google is keep on releasing new functionalities. So the newest thing in the market are the performance max campaigns. So a lot of PPC experts and other people out there, they are talking about those. They're very, very early, not really matured yet, but people are testing them. And that's also the philosophy about anything that we're talking here, or in general. It's what you also said when you asked me for, like, what resource do you recommend? At the end of the day, there's the theoretical level, but then you need to bring it to a practical level and test as much as you can. And those performance max campaigns, I recommend to test those out. How they work is basically you can have a lot of assets, which includes headlines, descriptions, images, and video. So it has a whole variety of assets, and Google will go and determine where they're placing them. It gives you a little bit less control, but it might work out well because Google is getting really strong with their machine learning, interpreting a lot of different signals out there in the market, and then they try to show the right format, the right ad, the right message to the right person at the right time, basically. And those are all the different networks, and it's all covered under the umbrella which is called Google Ads. So you have a lot of tools, and then Google Ads again is also only one tool in the toolkit of an advertiser, because it works really well with Facebook and with other ads and ad platforms, and there's a lot of opportunity out there if you know how to orchestrate all of that together.
Yeah, that is quite complex. There's a lot of tools, like you said, at their disposal. But I want to focus in on YouTube, since I think that there's a lot of I don't know, kind of unknown about it. So just to start, what are the different kinds of YouTube ads that are available to use? Because I know there's some that are, on like the side banner. There's some that are pre-video that you can skip through, some that you can't. So what are the different kinds of YouTube ads?
As you said, there are a few, like the bumper ads and the in-stream ads. So basically there are bumper ads which you cannot skip at the beginning. Then there are ads, and our focus are on the so-called in-stream ads. This is you can skip them after 5 seconds. So it's really important that you have a strong hook within those 4 to 5 seconds, that you really show who you target, and can talk a little bit about that too. Then you can also list yourself in the search results of YouTube. You might see it if you haven't subscribed to Premium yet, but then you type something inside and you have like just a normal listing above the videos that are showing. Or you can also show as a thumbnail on the side or below. But we primarily work with in-stream ads because that has been working the best so far when we test it. Of course, occasionally we test other formats as well, but those in-stream ads, they work really fine.
And are those specifically before the start of a video, or those can also be like mid-roll, like the ones where if you're watching a 20-minute video, you have to skip through 3 or 4 ads?
Right, they can happen mostly at the start, but as you said, some of the advertisers, they can also define the different breaks, and they can happen inside of the stream, inside of the video too. Both times they're skippable after 5 seconds. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Gotcha.
And can you talk us through, and not necessarily in detail, because I think every business owner, before they even get into YouTube ads, they should do some research as to how they function. But can you tell us a little bit about how a brand comes to decide on running YouTube ads?
Yeah. So maybe what I think is quite interesting, because there's currently a lot of pain. I have a lot of friends in the e-commerce space or also clients. And you just hear it out there that since Apple released iOS 14,
Right.
there have been a lot of pressure in terms, with Facebook ads since that time, because the lack of signals, the lack of information that goes through, people are not really able to measure the success. So so then YouTube ads is now something that I see a lot of people are actually diversifying into, and that's also one of the ideas, or maybe why we have this discussion, because I see it as a great opportunity, or a lot of my friends and so on, they also see it as a bigger opportunity. And basically, this is why I think, because a lot of e-commerce business, they were really reliant on Facebook ads beforehand, and now there are actually 3 pillars that I would recommend to e-commerce owners, or that I also see big e-commerce stores are doing. Because before, when they were spending up to 6 figures even per month on Facebook, that has been scaling down. What can you do? You need to look now over the shoulder and see what other platforms are there, and that could be YouTube. So what I recommend is like basically trying to test it quickly. You can take the creatives that you have for Facebook, even though it might not be ideal. There's different stages, and the ideal stage would be to have dedicated ads for YouTube as well. But this obviously has the most effort, because you need to produce them, you need to spend more resources on them. But if you want to test things quick, what I recommend is like creating little MVPs, minimum viable products, or in this case, videos. So what you already have on Facebook, and a lot of e-commerce business owners or advertisers, they build up a lot of experience, and they know what has been working on that platform and what did not work so well, so they can use that content and repurpose it for YouTube really quickly. So so what I'm instead of recommending you have to go on YouTube and figure it out, I'm always going from the experiment level, and would recommend, like, hey, let's find a way with the least amount of resources possible. Like, how can we create a minimum viable product here, and how can we test things quickly, because it's about testing a lot of different things. There could be targeting, creatives. Creatives is the main aspect with YouTube ads. But so can you also test other channels outside, depending on what your product is. TikTok ads, investing a certain percentage of your budget, and try out another channel as well. We have one client. He is not an e-commerce client of ours, but he's doing coaching and video courses, online courses. And we took his account, and we just we had like 4 or 5 different ads, and he gave us a budget, and we went in there like with the targeting options that we thought they're most intent oriented, or at the bottom of the funnel. So we started out there, and then we worked ourselves up and saw what else is working. So we were just testing all the time. And so the first pillar is really trying to diversify in different channels, test those channels, and see what is working. The second pillar, because of this pain with Facebook, is to have, or what I also recommend is to have a different tracking setup. A lot of people might just look into Facebook ads directly into the dashboard, or into Google ads, or maybe Google Analytics. But since Facebook is struggling so much with the iOS 14 update, there are other technologies out there, other softwares, third-party apps. If I can mention one, Triple Whale is now really hot in the market. A software like that, of course, it costs a certain amount. It's based on the revenue, but it will allow you, because it uses not only pixels, but it uses different technologies. It looks at your IPs, and it stores information of the whole entire customer journey. So it doesn't look only individually at one channel. That's also very, very important, because a lot of times you create synergies between those, among all those different ad channels, which you can really see in such a tracking tool, because it also stores the data much longer than only 30 days. Like most ad platforms out there, that you can define how long you want to store or when it's counted as a conversion. But with this tracking tool, you can track data infinite. And that helps you with the third pillar, which is, and I was just talking to a friend of mine who has an 8-figure business. He is also not only trying acquisition campaigns in order to get direct sales, but he is now running campaigns also to get to build a community, to get people on their newsletter, and to nurture this newsletter accordingly, and slowly warming up, building the relationship there, and then later eventually have a pitch there, or like Gary Vaynerchuk always says, check, right hook. So it's more about relationship building with this tactic, but to measure that, it has such a longer customer journey, and those tools really help you from the beginning until the end to see that. So those are the 3 pillars, basically, besides, so not only the diversifying away from Facebook, but also looking into those other things that it might be helpful right now in the market.
Yeah, no, and it makes complete sense to sort of take this step by step. But when we get down into the execution, even with step 1 or pillar 1 of creating that MVP for your YouTube ads, is that would you advise that they simply take the same targeting demographic that has worked for them on Facebook and use the exact same one on YouTube, or would you recommend they use more of a general campaign to find out what works best on YouTube?
Okay, so when we talk about the targeting, it works quite different than on Facebook. I mean, there are a lot of parallels, but maybe let me elaborate on that. One very strong and powerful targeting option that Google Ads is utilizing, especially on search, on shopping, but then also on YouTube, is contextual targeting. That's the highest form of targeting basically out there. Why is that? Because it is the most personal, it is the most intentional, and it is the most temporal, because it catches someone right in the moment when they're looking for something, when they type it in. So instead of in Facebook, you have audiences based on interests, right? So you have to define different segments, and it's always a collective group of people, of users. In Google, you can because you're typing in the keywords, so you target people when they're typing them into YouTube or into Google. So they are indicating their intent. And as you might know, in marketing, timing is the most important. So so that's a very important thing to understand about Google, that you can actually use it as a bottom of the funnel lever to really get people who are ready, who are in the market, who are looking for that product. And I also recommend to starting there, in opposed to on the awareness pillar, where you have to be more interactive. And here's maybe an example on what the difference is between Facebook and YouTube. So Facebook is basically people going to the town, maybe after work, or they are distracted, or they are bored, or they just want to see the latest gossip, right? So they want to see what's going on. So you can compare it like going to the town. You go to a pub and you chat with people, and you just want to gossip there and drink your beer, and it's relaxed. So the advertiser has to go there and to say, hey, look at my ad, and they have to be interruptive. With Google, on the other hand, what it does, it's more like the library of the town. People go there with a specific, they have an intent. They want to basically under like that they want to look for specific information. Not always, of course, but as an advertiser, you can utilize this segment. Who is typing in how to do X, how to do Y, or they're looking for their weight loss plan, or they're looking for that certain product review and so on. And then you can either target those videos specifically. That's called placement targeting. So you can, and that's the power of YouTube, that you have so many different targeting options, as I said. So one of them is called placement. Placements, like it could be single YouTube videos. So you can define it just by taking the YouTube URLs of the videos, of all the videos that you want to place your ad on, and you can run a campaign for that. Or you can also target the YouTube channel as a whole. So you would target all the videos that are in that channel. Then, as I said, keyword targeting, that also works really great in the beginning. Because what I just said, it's contextual targeting. People might go to YouTube and they're looking for specific information. So that means they're showing a certain intent, especially if you're using then the right keywords to try to target them. And to stay in that segment as well, there is something which is called a custom intent audience, or it's an audience where you also plug in. So it's a segment, it opens up, and then you can define all your different keywords, and you can create different clusters, as we say. So it's like between 10 and 20 keywords around a certain topic or genre. And with this custom intent audience, you tell YouTube, and that's the power again of it, that YouTube, and it's one of the Google properties. So Google has so many signals, data points. They use information that they have of users that they're using Google search, the YouTube and whatnot. And with this with this custom intent audience, you're basically going and telling YouTube to look into what they typed in Google search. So if they had a specific intent on Google search, then you can type that in and target those people. So and that usually also works really well in the beginning. So just to wrap it up on that, it's like keyword targeting is something that I recommend to try out first. Placement targeting, the only con with placement targeting, it's a little bit more harder to scale at one point because there's only so many videos that you can target. And also, of course, some videos, they have more traffic than others. So they might not generating enough views anymore after a certain time. So it's not so scalable. And then custom intent, where they're looking at Google, and those are pretty scalable. And then you have a lot of other targeting options, which I could also go into, but those are the main ones to get started.
And so when it comes to keywords, where would you recommend that they start when it comes to just creating this short list of 10 to 20? And I assume those are more general, broad terms. When do you start to get into more exact match or phrase match keyword terms?
Yeah. So those match types that you're talking about, they are very relevant. They used to be way more relevant than they are now for Google search. Where you had to define on how much control you give to Google, and just to introduce them to the audience. So we had like prod match. It's basically a keyword out there when you look for sleep mask. But then Google will go and they use their own interpretation, and it's very open. So that they're using different words that might be completely out of what you want to target. So it adds a lot of long tail keywords or short tail keywords and so forth. Then you have phrase match, which controls it more, and you have exact match, which exactly what you're looking for is what you want. This used to be very important for Google search. It's getting less and less important because of of the machine learning aspects that are flowing into Google Ads, but also, because you're giving now, you play with the machine learning, with the AI, with the Google AI, to try to give it the right signals, and they're actually optimizing quite well these days. But a few years ago, it was super important, especially also with adding negative keywords and so on. When you take this concept right now for YouTube, you don't have to worry about it, because in YouTube, you go only with broad match types. So all this, what I just tripled down, is more for Google search. For YouTube, you always use broad match, so you don't have to worry about it. No headache on that side. But you can use Keyword Planner, or there are other tools. We use more sophisticated tools like AdZula or others. And those tools will help you. Like you need to always have some ideas, like seed keywords that you type in, and it will give you a lot of recommendation. And you might develop some other ideas, and then we plug everything into a CSV file or Google Sheets file. And then you have to think about what you can structure together, sleep mask, best sleep mask, and so on. And then, you create different categories, basically, if the product has variations or what, and you try to aim for 10 to 20, especially when it comes to those custom intent audiences. With normal keyword campaigns, what you need to keep in mind is that YouTube is always spending the budget that you give it very unevenly. Of course, if you give it more budget, then it spends it more, but it's usually an 80-20 allocation. So it always takes just a few keywords that get very positive signals in the first time after launching the campaign, which then doesn't really allow you to analyze all the other keywords. So you need to be careful and eventually check it quite a lot of times, especially at the beginning, to turn off keywords that have a high ad spend, but the other success metric or the metric is not indicating success, like the click-through rate is too low, or you spend a bunch of money, it doesn't return into anything. You don't have a sale or conversion, and a few other parameters that you can look into, and then you have to make sure that you keep your eyes on that performance. So that's the only thing that's very important, actually, to make sure. Of course, you can counterbalance that with different campaign structures, having different ad groups, having different campaigns as well. So you try to split out the ad budgets more evenly. That's possible, but that's a little bit more advanced, maybe. Yeah.
Well, and on the topic of budgets, it's well known that like Amazon PPC has gotten kind of out of control. It's very expensive to make any kind of an impact. And when you look at YouTube ads, those in-stream or those bumper ads, not buffer, there's some big names like, movie production houses and other streaming services that are obviously spending a lot of money on not only the creative, but the ad placement. Where and how much do ads cost, right? How long is a piece of string? But what do you recommend? How much do you recommend that these e-commerce businesses be, allocating towards YouTube ads? Because it seems like it'd be a pretty high threshold of pay to play for any kind of success.
Right. Okay. So in terms of budget, we can talk about the production of an ad and as well as the actual ad spend. So maybe for the production of the ad, of course, the sky is the limit. Basically, I've been seeing brands in the corporate world. I've been seeing tech company or any bigger corporate that can spend easily six figures with big teams. I've seen such productions. I've been involved into them. Huge team is basically like filming a movie similar like Star Wars, as you said in the beginning. But this is not where the main clientele of us is starting out. Again, for the testing, to come back to this concept of MVP, like most clients, they're spending a couple of thousands of dollars, but they're making the ads that you can also easily modify certain things. And that's maybe an interesting part to look into. Maybe you record a few different hooks, so you can test the hook out at the beginning, and maybe you have hook 1, hook 2, hook 3, and you can ABC test those out really quickly, and then go from there and test maybe the call to action part. But also very simple. So there's so many different ways actually to create creatives as well. But also when you don't have a budget, then recording one with your cell phone is pretty much like there is really no rule, because if you're spending 6 figures on an ad, it does not guarantee you necessarily that it really resonates with your clientele, and that's the big risk as well. Like they're doing it more for branding in general. That's another goal. But if you if you are in that situation, you need to look at every dollar. Then what you want is acquisition campaigns, and then you can record by yourself. You can just record videos by yourself, or you work with an influencer. Maybe you can sponsor them. They record a video for you that you can leverage. There are different ad types that you can do. So a review, so you can leverage someone to just record you a review, and you can use that as a part of your ad as well. And you can just find someone, if you don't have already user generated content from your actual users that you could use. For example, in a testimonial match, then you could even find someone on Fiverr and pay them. So there are different ways for different budgets. I think what counts is really the creativity also a little bit around that. And if you have a little bit of budget, then it's fine, and you can do more of it. If you $1,000, $2,000. If you have no budgets, there are ways, and if you have high budgets, there are certainly ways to do things. But at the beginning, it might be even better to stay small and to try out, to find out an ad that is really resonating, that you can see, and then you kind of know what is there. And then if you want, you can steadily increase your investment, increase the production quality, and maybe the next ad you have more budget towards that. In terms of ad spend, sorry, if you want to.
Oh yeah, quick question. What metric do you typically measure there in order to see what resonates the best?
Okay, so there are different success metrics. So there are primary KPIs, as we call them, which is basically you want to know, if you spend money, how much money do you get back? That's the return on ad spend. Yeah, you want to get money back. And if you are new to YouTube, you want to aim at a metric of 0.5. Even that's not profitable, but that indicates that there's potential in that certain aspect. So you want to, when you spend money then on YouTube itself, you want to also invest 1,000 to 2,000 per month per ad, at least, to see what's going on, if you can build up some traction. And if you create a ROAS of 0.5, that's good. Even later, what we see is that a good ROAS is somewhere between 1.5 to 2. Because YouTube is oftentimes also it's one touch point, and it's a very powerful touch point in the beginning, and it catches the users. It's good for awareness. It's also good for intention-based customers, as I mentioned, but it also fills up your other channels. It's creating all the synergy. And it comes back to this tracking tool that I mentioned, because you can see that it affects your Facebook ads. It affects, like, if you run YouTube, also your search performance on search or on shopping might go higher, because people might go back to Google for you, or they subscribe to your newsletter, and then you advertise to them later. So those are the metric. This is the primary metric to look at. Of course, if you want to then also analyze the different ad performance, there's the view rate to see how long are the prospects or the viewers actually viewing your content. So there's a range that you want to aim between 15 and 25. You also don't want to watch it too long and then don't take action if they're not really resonating with your brand. And then there's the click-through rate. The click-through rate should be higher than 1%. Ideally, it's sometimes tricky, but it gives you a little bit also feedback if the ad is sticking with this audience or not. So there's different metric for different purposes as well. And also what I mentioned is return on ad spend. Sometimes it takes more data to be statistically significant. So you want to have secondary metric first that gives you kind of hints so you can act faster and might not waste so much money on the table. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No. So sorry. I know I threw you off, but that's going from Facebook, going from maybe never running any sort of video ad. I think it's important to understand that also, how long someone spends on it and if they're taking the call to action or not. I mean, sometimes you just let an ad run because you're just like stepping away for a second. And if a bunch of people are doing that, not taking any action, then, hey, maybe it's just not an interesting ad. It's not hooking them in at the beginning. No, I appreciate that.
Yeah. No, awesome. That's good. Yeah.
So as we're kind of nearing the end of the episode, what would be your best tips? Just kind of, 3 things to look out for. Just number 1 best tip or best strategy for an e-commerce business owner that wants to get into YouTube ads.
Mm-hmm. So again, like the first tip, I wouldn't be so worried about the ad creative. I would look into the things that you already have. Check out the assets that you have created for other ad platforms, especially Facebook, since that has been around for quite a while, and start there. So even if you have not really a budget, you can use that content there. You need to change the resolution. You need to adjust it a little bit because the format is different on YouTube. So there are a few tweaks. I would recommend you to do those tweaks, and also the psychology is different on YouTube. If you can do that, start out with this content and try to not to overthink it. Try to think on how you can test different ad creative aspects really quickly. That's the first one. The second one is use the same ads and test out the different targeting options too. And as I said, you want to start with those higher intent targeting options because it's more likely that you get performance, and that's what you want to get. You want to get early wins. Test quickly overall. Either if you're going to TikTok, YouTube, if you're going to different targeting options or testing ads, always test quickly and don't be shy. Have this experimental mindset and try to think strategically beforehand. Where can I get my quickest win? And look for quick wins first before you just like trying to make something really perfect before over optimizing things. Try to go for the quick wins here. And the last tip, what I think is really important for e-commerce businesses at a certain scale, is really to look into a tracking solution that really shows them the entire customer journey. I'm not sure if I mentioned that there are 3 different buying personas. So one is an impulsive buyer; they're buying it right away. There might be more, but those are the ones that I always have in mind. There's the immediate buyer. It might also depend on your price point of the product. There's people that are quite impulsive with buying things. So those are kind of easy wins. But then there are customers that need multiple touch points first. So they need to see your ad on Facebook again, like might go to your newsletter, then they might type they look for your brand in Google, so you want to show up there, and so on. So it takes multiple of those touch points. And the third is it's very similar, but instead of having a quantity of touch points, they need the quantity of time. So they need more time to get warm with you. They need to learn more about you. They need to trust you. And so what I said, you want to have a way to track that, and then you want to see this as a whole orchestra of different instruments, and then trying to figure out how are those elements playing with each other. So those would be my tips.
Awesome. Sounds good. And at the end of every episode, we always give our guests an opportunity to tell us a little bit more about their business and also outline what a best fit customer would look like to work with you, just in case there's anybody listening saying, I need some help with my ads. I would love to work with an agency. Kind of who would be, if they're thinking that, kind of what boxes should they check off before coming to WunderAds?
Sure. So as probably it came obvious, we're focusing on Google Ads, but also we help e-commerce businesses with Facebook, and we target clients that already have existing accounts. So we usually start out first by providing value by looking over the accounts. And providing an audit on those. We sadly have only limited slots available, so it's always it needs to be arranged, but it's something that we do. If people want to follow us, they can either go. We also have a YouTube channel where I interview other e-commerce entrepreneurs with a mission to extract their knowledge, very similar to what you guys are doing. Which is a great hobby. I really love that because it's just about value, and it's just about understanding each e-commerce owner's and marketer's superpower and trying to make it implementable for others. So that's something to check out, WunderAds on YouTube. And I also have we also have a free guide on the website that people, if they're interested in, they can just download it.
Awesome.
That's helpful.
And I will link the WunderAds YouTube channel in the description of the video and the audio, but I'll go ahead and put it in the comments for anybody who is listening live. That's awesome. And then if they just wanted to find more information on you guys in general, your website is wunderads.agency, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, perfect.
Awesome.
With a U instead of an O.
With a U. Yes, it is WunderAds.agency. And that, of course,
that's
will be linked
wunderbar.
Okay.
Sorry for that.
No worries. Awesome. Well, Marco, thank you so much for joining us today. We've loved chatting with you, and we hope to talk to you again soon. I know it's very late for you, so we'll go ahead and wrap things up. But thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I hope that was valuable. And if anyone has some questions, I'm happy to answer them. And it would be great to keep in touch. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thank you, everybody who tuned in. If you guys liked what you heard today, please be sure to give us a thumbs up, comment with your thoughts, share this episode with your friends, subscribe to the show, and be sure to turn on notifications. And that way you never miss a conversation with leaders in supply chain and e-commerce like Marco with WunderAds. You guys, it's too early for this. We can't do these at 9 anymore. I'm just useless this early. It is okay. It is okay. I need to get up earlier. I need more coffee. But awesome. Thanks, you guys. We'll see everybody again soon.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.